How much is it for now?
We're talking about, there's a Sikha of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the Kuti Sichas Aleph, Parsha Zachor, which is going to be this Shabbos, that we have to remember what Amalek did and wipe him out. Why is it important to remember such a terrible thing as Amalek? We should just keep it out of our mind, these terrible things. The answer is because it's already in our mind. And every Jew has an Amalek inside of him. And the only way that you can defeat it is by means of remembering. What do we have to remember? Remember how good Hashem is, remember how great Hashem is, but it's not so simple, and that's what the Rebbe is going to tell us. Amalek is not just this, like a sleeping bear or something. If you nudge him, he wakes up. He attacks you. Amalek attacks. Puts doubts into your mind if God really exists. It puts doubts into your mind if Judaism is really meaningful. It makes you cold about loving another Jew, about loving the Torah, about loving Hashem. Makes you cold, cools you off. Says the Rebbe, I'll just give you a few examples. We look in the Bible, in the Torah, and we see that up to now there have been 3 wars against Amalek. Amalek attacked us 3 times. 3 wars against Amalek. One time, I guess we attacked them, but it was before they attacked us. One time the Amalek attacked us was immediately when we left Egypt. Another one was when they attacked us 40 years later, right before we went into the land of Israel. Another time they attacked us was in the days of King Saul, before the temple was built, before the first temple was built.
Now Amalek.
King Saul, he also war against Amalek, made a war, and he did not kill everybody. He was supposed to have killed them all, including the sheep, and he didn't do it. And the last war, because Saul didn't finish the job, so the last war will be the Melech HaMashiach, the Messiah, Mashiach, will fight against Amalek. Will fight against the nation, Amalek. But meanwhile, the Rebbe...
What is the Amalek? What is the Amalek? It's the fun, it's the sadness, it's...
Egotism.
Egotism?
I exist. I am God. I am all. This is feeling of I, deep inside.
So we need to just like pray for God.
We'll see what we have to do.
And then
we'll see what we have to do. But this selfishness is the source of all bad character traits. All of our problems, anger, depression, lust, blaming others, branches of these things. Blaming others, cheating, lying. Those are all secondary stages. That comes from Amalek. We'll talk about it in a second. Four times Amalek, 3 times Amalek attacked us. Once when we left Egypt. This is coming to show us that what? That Amalek stands between us and the Torah. That tries to make us not excited. Then Amalek comes in a revealed way and says, forget Judaism, forget God, forget the Torah, forget it. It's all not meaningful. Logic, use your brain, use your mind. You really believe that God creates the world? Darwin proved that it's not so. You really believe that God gave the Torah, spoke to the Torah and the Jews? History books don't agree with you. There are no eyewitnesses, right? No witnesses. Nobody wrote a book about it. So what do you mean nobody wrote a book? We have the Torah. The Torah is the book, and it says that everybody saw it. What are you talking about? And all the people that are alive now, they said, that's nothing. It was made up. It's not really a story. Are you willing to investigate this? I'm not willing to investigate it. It's stupid. It's a conspiracy trial. What is that? Another one of those conspiracy things. Forget it. Not going to talk about it. The world exists on its own. Man is decided. He decides his own fate according to whatever he wants to. His conscience, his desires, his this, whatever you want.
You can be anything you want.
Anything what you want to do. And if you would you like to be a horse? You can do anything you want. And what about, is God good? Who says he's good? Look at all the trouble, all the suffering in the world. Who says that God is good? Can we rely on God? What are you talking about? Look at all these criminals, these evil people, how they're succeeding without. These are very, very good questions. This is very true. And that's what Amalek wants you to do, is to use only your mind. No soul, no faith, no simplicity. Right? Just use your mind. What's the best thing for me? What's the best thing that I can get? Think of your benefit. What's your benefit? Good, you can do that. It's a very good way to live with your wife. But it's not the way that Abraham gave us. Abraham, the first Jew, taught us that we must live our life according to absolute truth. Absolute truth. In the end, we, with our true ideas, everybody dies. And then another generation, everybody discovers, Freud, everybody. I remember when I was young, Sigmund Freud was like holy. It was like, you can't talk against Mohammed. You can't talk against Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, who are you to even think to take him up? It's a great man he is. Now it's proved without any doubt that everything that he said was wrong. Everything that he said. Except that people's problems shouldn't be taken at face value. Except for that, right? Except for that, everything he said was wrong. The Oedipus Complex, what man is. Nobody holds by Freud. Maybe there's a few Israelis or something like that. Right? People would go to psychoanalysis for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, just beginning. Karl Marx. Hey, what a wonderful idea is Karl Marx. This fantastic, right? The whole thing was wrong. The whole thing was totally wrong. Right? Didn't work. Was miserable. Was terrible. It was wrong. These people have their own ideas. You want to trust yourself. In the beginning, everybody thinks it's wonderful. But afterwards, everybody says, nah. Says the Rebbe, there's such a thing as absolute truth. And that's what the Torah is. The Torah is absolute truth. Abraham knew it before the Torah was given. But it requires a lot of times big sacrifices on yourself. Namely, one thing you have to sacrifice is striving for success, striving for pleasure, striving for yourself. No, the striving has to be to make the world a perfect place according to God's orders. Good? Let's go. That was the first time Amalek struck, was when the Jews were leaving Egypt, and he did not want them to receive the Torah. And if they did, to receive the Torah only in a very logical way. Nishma v'naseh. We will understand and then we will do. Second time Amalek struck the Jews, Ches, was right before they wanted to come into the land of Israel. We did this yesterday. Then Amalek did not come in a revealed way. He came in a concealed way. He came dressed as a Canaanite. What does this do? This is another way that Amalek gets us. How does he get us? He says, listen, I've got nothing against you getting excited about Torah, about mitzvahs. Not like the first trick of Amalek. When they left Egypt, don't get excited. It's Torah, it's another book. No big deal, right? Don't let God fool you. You do only what you understand. Forget this na'aseh and nishma business. I'll do whatever you say, God, and then I'll understand that. That's for children. You have to understand first. That's the first Amalek. The second Amalek is saying, Torah, mitzvahs, wonderful, get excited. This is so fantastic. The mitzvahs, nothing like it. The Jewish people, fantastic, wonderful. But when you're not doing Torah and mitzvahs, when you're working at your job, when you're with your family, when the door is closed, when nobody sees you, when you're the boss, right? I'm at home. Now I close that door, right? No one exists except for me. The kids better do what I want. My wife better do what I want. Everything is, I have to be the boss. Then when I'm in my business, then I am the boss. If it means that I'll lose customers, so I'll be nice to the customers. But the main thing is I want to receive. When I'm doing Torah and mitzvahs, it's all for God. But when I'm not doing Torah, when I'm not involved in Judaism, then I'm involved in naturalism, humanism. What do you want to call it? I'm a normal person. That's what he says. That's what Amalek said. Amalek struck the Jews right before they went into the land of Israel. What did he say? He said, in the desert you already finished all of your work. In the desert you already purified what you had to purify. You refined what you had to refine. Now you're coming into the land of Israel. When you come into the land of Israel, now you're going to have a little bit of time for yourself. In the desert, you were totally under God. Now in Israel, when you learn Torah, when you do the commandments, when you're praying, then you're in God's territory. But when you're not, then it's your territory. That's what it means. You're coming to the land of Israel, Eretz Canaan. So let's do it. We're here. See where we're on page 199, right at the top. Well, you got the same book as me? I don't think so. Let's see. Let's see your book. So you're safer. I'm sorry. You're safer. No. Here we go. Yeah, a midrash here. Take it from here. Yeah, a midrash. Here. See, a midrash. There's a little 30 next to it. A midrash on the pasuk Vayesh Mimenu Shevi. It says that the Amalek, when they attacked the Jews, so they would disguise themselves as Canaanim. It says, Lakach b'Shevi, he took Mi b'nei Yisrael Shifcha Kanani Zachar. They took a prisoner. Who was the prisoner? One non-Jewish maidservant. HaKanani eno gozel mi b'nei Yisrael. The Kanani, Amalek, what does he steal from the Jewish people? Not the Jewish part of you. Not davar sheshayach lem b'tivo. Hu lokech miem rak davar kazeh. The Amalek can only strike on something which the Jewish people have, a possession of theirs. And even then, it's only temporary. It's by means of Shevi. In, captivity. And what's this represent? The Amalek cannot touch your learning Torah. It can't touch when you're doing the commandments. Okay, you with me, Zechariah? Yeah. That are relevant to Am Yisrael and their nature. What does Amalek say? Rak at the zechut, only the right, lahabia dat, to say his opinion, b'inyanim shochulin b'geshem, when it comes to mundane things, day-to-day things, how you make money, how you live your life, what you eat, how you dress. Then Amalek says, I want to have the say. Hu doresh mi b'nei Yisrael, he demands from the Jews, when Jews, when you're connected to things of the world, that you should act like the Goyim. Okay, Zachariah, leave that alone for now. Leave that alone. We'll do that later. I'm bored. Good. Ella. See, the first word on the line is the word Ella. Find that word. Ella. You have it? Ella, here. Good? Good. Ella, but Sha'atorah megalelanu. So this is the second trick of Amalek, that he lets the Jews do Torah v'mitzvahs, he lets the Jews do religion, but when it comes to working in the world, Amalek said, that's my business. Ella Sha'atorah megalelanu, but the Torah tells us, Sheme'acharei tainus elu, that after these claims of Amalek, that he says, Torah and mitzvot, commandments, Judaism, 100%, that belongs to God, and you belong to God. But when you come into my territory, into the world, says Amalek, then I'm the one that calls the shots. I'm the one that tells you how to make money. I'm the one that tells you how to make friends. I'm the one that tells you how to have pleasure, how to have a good time. Amalek is the one that says that I want to rule the physical world, spiritual world you can have. The Torah says, which this seems to be okay. I mean, why not? Is leaving us alone, is letting us do Torah mitzvahs. And you know what? If I decide I'm going to do Torah all day long, I'm going to do mitzvah all day long. Nice idea, right? I won't go to the work. I won't even get married. I'll just sit and learn the Torah all the time. That's really not a good idea, right? Says the Rebbe, nice idea, but it's totally wrong. The idea comes from Amalek. After these kind nistater Amalek. What do you mean? He says I can learn Torah, I can do the commandments, I can do whatever. He just wants the world. Says that's Amalek. Why? Hakanani shekalash atzmo hagoy eno mesugal litapel am Israel. A non-Jew can never have any effect on the Jewish people. Ve'en lo kol achizabo. The non-Jews have no way of affecting in any way the Jewish people, for sure not to tell them what to do, and for sure not to defeat them in any area of life. But when Amalek dresses up as a Kanani, in other words, your non-Jewish friend, he's fighting you, then he says, no, I come from Avram and for Yitzchak. Then what's going to happen? Amalek, take this advice from Amalek, and you'll see that it works. It works. When I learn Torah, I do the commandments, I pray, I'm totally God's. And when I go into the world and work, then I'm just like everybody. I'm a cutthroat businessman, and I'm taking advantage. I don't care about Torah. I don't care about the mitzvahs. The only thing is they shouldn't catch me, right? Says, no, a lot of people, it works. It does. It works. It works what? 90% of the time. But 10% of the time, it not only doesn't work, but the people get killed. They get killed spiritually. There's 10%. Now let's see, how many Jews are there? There are, let's say, 20 million Jews in the world. Let's say. 10% of that means 2 million Jews get lost to Amalek because of thinking like this. Torah, mitzvahs, Judaism, that belongs to God. But the world, working in the world, being in the world, eating, sleeping, those things all belong to me. They belong to Amalek. I can make my own decisions. It says, wonderful idea, great idea, it's harmony, but it destroys Judaism. If there are, how many religious Jews are there today? Let's say from the 20 million Jews that really religious Jews, half of them are religious. Let's say, be optimistic. Half of them are religious, right? So that means let's say 10% of them will fall because of this idea. 1 million Jews, you know what that means? Even one is too much. Kishabo Mishu Kanani, when a Kanani, the king of Arad, and he says to you should learn from the Goyim, learn from the non-Jews, how they act, how they deal with their lives, in order lahatzliach, and then you can be successful. B'it yashvut beretz Canaan, settling in the world. Yesh ladad, you have to know. Shalo rak she'en zu derech lahafoch et eretz Canaan le'eretz Israel, that not only are you not going to have a positive influence on the non-Jews, that they'll start to live according to true principles. Eretz Asher, you're not transforming them to the land of Israel. Ki'im yeter al kain, even more. After this demand to be normal a little bit in your life, mistater oyev, there's the enemy. Hanilcham b'bnei Israel, that fights with the Jews, and it fights with the land of Israel. That same Amalek that wanted to prevent Jews from receiving the Torah and to cool them off, to inyanim kedusha, it's the same exact Amalek that says, do the Torah, do commandments, but in worldly things be normal. This is a very basic, foundational principle of what we call the state of Israel. That's this very basic thing of the state of Israel. What's the state of Israel? You want to be religious, but don't mess with us when it comes to normal worldly things. When it comes to normal things, we want to be exactly like the non-Jews. Non-Jews also have their religious people. So we also will allow our religious people, and we'll give money from the Torah, money for the commandments, money for this. But don't try to tell us what to do when it comes to making money, when it comes to having a good time, when it comes to defending ourselves, when it comes to making political agreements, don't try to stick your nose in. Very basic principle of Judaism. What does the Lubavitcher Rebbe say? The Lubavitcher Rebbe says exactly what we see here. No Jew really wants this. No Jew. Even the non-religious, even the anti-religious Jews, they don't want it. They say they want it. Want to have a secular state that was a Jew can be both normal like everybody else, right, and be secular. But why, if you want to do a mitzvah, keep Yom Kippur, do commandments.
So
no Jew wants this. Every Jew.
Why do you want?
Huh? Why? Because everybody has an Amalek. Everybody has a Yetzer Hara, and they listen to it.
But Rabbi, that's just the way of the world. Like, nobody's forcing you to do Torah and mitzvahs. God gives you the choice. Like, the government can't force you to do a job because that's politically unnecessary.
Right.
Because if the government's forced everyone to do a job,
Yeah.
will be on the streets, and that's not good.
Here we're not talking about. First of all, according to the Torah, you have to work. Also, you have to work, but the work that you do has to be totally according to the Torah.
Hashem doesn't want you on the street. If Hashem wants
That's
you on
right.
the street, your parents will be cold and you'll be born on the highway.
Yes, that's right.
This is why there's jobs.
That is true. But on the other hand, what God does want, He wants a world that everything in the world, no matter what, is connected to Him because He's the creator. He creates everything. Everything is being created by God.
God has no regrets. If you were born on the street, God wanted you on the street, your parents would be cold.
You said that before. Okay. Therefore, what's the Rebbe saying? We say, right? Yi Hashem HaMalucha. What does every Jew want? Every Jew wants that everyone in the world should know that there's a creator and that the creator creates them. That's all. Therefore, there's no such thing as non-religious. No such thing. Everything is religious. This is religious. This is religious. This is part of Judaism. Everything is created by the creator. The creator creates everything.
And it's AliExpress.
Right. AliExpress is also creator. Everything there is.
The company is only an agent of Hashem.
The company itself is being created by God every single second, but God makes everything run in a natural way.
That's because Hashem runs the world for the people.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He wants us to be His partners. So, but who's supposed to teach the whole world this fact? The Jews. Instead of the Jews teaching everybody, listen, if you do what God says and you work in your job like what God says, then everything will be the way God wants it to be. Healthy, perfect, working order, dynamic. People will interact. Some people don't have certain things. Other people have. There'll be business. There'll be give and take. There'll be love. There'll be care. There'll be responsibility. There'll be potential. There'll be beauty. All these wonderful things in the world will come to be if people just take God into account to know that God is creating everything and He's creating us with free will. But if people don't think that, if people are selfish, then nobody thinks that.
The thing is, Amalek is at one end. Hashem and where we're supposed to be going is at the other end. Most people are somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Now, your point of view is that everybody is really pointing towards Amalek. I personally don't know anybody like that. Everybody is in the middle. Some even close to Amalek. At least they know which direction they're supposed to turn.
Listen, maybe the people that you're around could be. Most people, Jews.
That's what I'd like to believe.
Most people in the world, most Jews in the world, have no idea what Torah is, what mitzvahs are, what the commandments are, what Judaism is. Right?
But Hashem did make the world that we are somewhere between.
Yes, of course. The question is,
we'll never get there. I mean, it's always a strive. It's always we get to another level, go to another level, go to another. But at least we at least Jewish people, I mean, and this is what you're saying also, we know which is the right direction.
Amen. I hope that it's so. But what the Rebbe is trying to do is, this is also answers your question, not to force people, but to push people, but to pull people.
Like guidance.
To educate people.
Yeah.
Educate the world who you really are. The Rebbe is not. One second. The Rebbe is not trying to say who he is, and therefore you should follow him. He's trying to tell everybody who you are, what a Jew is, what a creation is, what a person is, and that God is the one that's creating all this. But as soon as a Jew starts to say, listen, God is one thing, and the world is another thing, that's a mulek. That's a mulek.
Yeah, but Rabbi, isn't that guidance, not like a teaching? Sounds like guidance.
Guidance, very good.
Because the Rebbe's job is to guide Jews.
Guide everyone to teach them
Torah
also.
and mitzvahs.
To teach them also.
The goy,
Also to help them with Torah and mitzvahs.
Yes.
The goy faces a knife. In most cases.
Listen, it's not so simple.
It's not so simple.
What? No. The Jewish people, egotism plays a big part of the whole thing. Here, let's just take the embodiment. Let's take one second. Let's take Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, right? What does it say? It says the Torah mitzvahs is nothing to get excited about, right? Nothing to get excited about Torah mitzvahs to various degrees. Some people say. One second. The people themselves. They don't know what's happening. Don't know. I'm not blaming. I'm just saying where the world is, the direction the world is going.
Rabbi would say they're ignorant and uneducated.
Yes, but nevertheless, that's what a mulek says. What is a mulek saying? A mulek saying, don't get excited about Torah or mitzvahs. That's the first stage. Second stage is, you can get excited about Torah and mitzvahs, but don't try to change the world. Let the world change you. But when you're in the world, let the world change you. Says the Rebbe, the second one is a mulek in disguise, but it still is a mulek. Because if a person says, like the Rambam says, a Jew that denies one commandment of the Torah, right, he's denying all the commandments. Because what essentially he's saying is that God didn't give all this. God wouldn't have given this commandment. Putting on tefillin, no way. Right? No way, that couldn't be God. The others is God. But what influenced you to say that? Your own logic did, right? So what the Rebbe is trying to say is, it's almost like a person saying, I used to be a mass murderer. I used to kill, every month I used to kill 100 people. And this month, I only killed one person. Isn't that wonderful? Right? You say, what do you mean?
Where are the cops when you need them?
Right. One person. It's terrible. So let's say, I'll get it down to the one a year. All right? Does that better for you?
No.
Will you let me out of prison?
Zero.
Of course, right. It's the same thing. A person that says, I'll do all the commandments except for one. So, okay, I'm not trying to make an equation over here, but I'm trying to say that, that this person who doesn't do a commandment, he should be put to death. I'm not trying to say that. What I am trying to say is the ridiculousness of it. Yeah. Right? The insanity. That's what a mulek does.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. A Torah revealed something new. I'm sorry. A derech hayechida. First word in line is derech, right before tet. Haderech hayechida, the only one, the only way. Shem hamafsheret, which makes possible. You see where we are? You have it? Yeshla? At the Kanisa L'Eretz Yisrael, who v'yacharem ethem. You have to destroy Amalek. Lo shitato shel Kanani melech harad. That you have to destroy all of them. You have to destroy all of the inhabitants of the land of Israel, and destroy them all. That's what God said. And not like the Amalek said, you can get along with them, you can make peace with them, you can make agreements with them. You can marry their daughters, they'll marry your sons, you can work in their business together, you give them lands, let them shoot missiles at you. Don't worry about it. They're your friends.
Sounds like the Hamas.
Yes. The land of Israel, the Torah explains what the world is in a big way, a spiritual way. The land of Israel is the example of each one of us, right, in a physical way, in a very physical way. What's happening in the land of Israel is happening in each and every one of us. There's a test. Test. Kefi shehusbar, like it's explained before, chozeret milchama zu gam b'dorenu. We also have nowadays. B'siyuma shel hatkufa shenit. At the end of the second period. Keshe'anu omdim l'kanes l'eretz asher eini Hashem elokecha bo mirish shana arach rishana. When we are standing and ready to enter the land that God shows us. Now, very interesting thing, this idea of the land of Israel. One of the signs, one of the goals of Mashiach is to bring all the Jews to the land of Israel. That's one of the goals. And it's never going to happen unless Mashiach does it. You can say whatever you want to, you can have any plans you want to, any theories you want to. The returning of the land of the Jews to the land of Israel is only going to be my Mashiach. It's the only one who's going to do it. Jews can come by. There's never been a time in the history of the world. Since Abraham, the Jews have not lived in Israel. Jews have always lived in Israel, right? Especially since Moshe came and took everybody out. No, I'm sorry, not from Abraham. From the time of Moshe, when Yeshua brought Jews into Israel, there always were Jews in Israel. Always. We're talking about 3,300. 280 years ago, something. 3,200 years ago, there have been Jews non-stop in the land of Israel. But the only time there's going to be all the Jews in the land of Israel is when Mashiach comes. Mashiach's going to do it. Yes.
He makes a good cheesecake.
Right. Like we said before, Gam Ata also now, we also have to war against the Melech Kanani. What is this war? A Kanani rotze lachdir et hakara sheyesh lihidamot. The Kanani wants to put into our mind that we should be similar, binyan gashmi, physically, l'shar ha'amim, to all the other nations. Hu toin bazne Yehudi, it says in the ears of a Jew, ratzon chal litasech b'mischar, you want to be a businessman? Then you have to be a businessman like the Goyim do. The Goyim lavdil. You have to cheat. You have to lie. You have to trick. You have to be clever. Outsmart the other guy. Ratzon chol hasig misra. You want to get a job. You have to prepare for the job like the non-Jews do. Don't bring God into it. L'shem kol zeh hinecha tzorich lilmod et inyanim shehem hepech haTorah. In order to do this, you have to learn things that are the opposite of the Torah. Ein lecha litrashev be'isurim. Don't think about what's forbidden. Uba'avonot, and the sins of hasagas gavul, of how do you call it in English? Taking over somebody else's, pushing somebody out of business. Avak lashon hara, saying bad things about other people. Ribis, taking interest. Alecha litbatel milimu Torah. You have to stop learning Torah. Don't spend so much time davening if you want to succeed in the world. If you want to succeed in the world, you cannot truly be a religious Jew. You can dress like a religious Jew. But when davening comes, times for davening, rip off the davening. You haven't got any time. And the whole time that you're davening, you're thinking about business. And this cellular phone is always ready. Right? Somebody calls you up. Right? There you are. You press. You can be in the Shemona Vesra. You don't talk. You're not talking. I'll talk Hebrew a little. Hold it. No. Right. The whole time is you can talk to the whole world. Somebody in Kfar Chabad got the idea, which I think is a brilliant idea, to give. Now is 90 years from the passing of the Rebbetzin, of the Rebbe's wife. He said the idea is give 90 minutes every day to the Rebbe. How to give 90 minutes every day to the Rebbe? Turn off your cellular phone. 30 minutes when you're davening Shachris, 30 minutes for Mincha, and 30 minutes for Mariv. 30 minutes.
That's a real gimme.
Huh?
That's an easy one.
So, Yosef Liberov. 30 dakot Al tistakel b'celulari b'shachrit, tefillat shachrit, tefillat mincha. I do it. I try. 30 דקות כל פעם, 90 דקות ביחד. 30 minutes together.
He said that. Who said that? Why he said that?
לתת מתנה לרביצן, שזה שנת ה-90 מפטירתה. Yeah. Yes. I try. I try to.
do that.
תזכור אותו 10 דקות לפני מנחה. מנחה זה 10 דקות, 10 דקות אחרי מנחה. לא כל כך הרבה. It's not so hard. 10 minutes before mincha, 10 minutes after mincha. Don't look at it. 10 minutes and your life will be a better life.
You said what is the bracha for it?
Huh?
You said what is the bracha?
No bracha. Just do what the Rebbe wants. But the Torah warns us that you have to know who is after this. I'm sorry. We skipped one paragraph. Reishit, first of all. Kach hu omer. First of all, you have to forget that there is hashkacha pratis. Sel hashkacha elyona. Okay, let's talk about this 1 second. How does business work according to a Jewish way? How does business work? You have to work, but your work is only a vessel. You hear me, Zachariah?
Yeah.
How do you make money in this world? How do you make money? You do not make money. You do not make money. There's no way you make money. You don't make money. God is the one that gives the money. But you have to make a vessel. You have to make a proper vessel. You can't just sit on the street like Zachariah says, just sit in the middle of the street, do nothing, and wait for someone to come and bring something to you. They'll come and they'll bring to you an old hot dog or something to eat. You're hungry? Here, take a crust from my pizza. I didn't eat it. Right? That's what you'll get. Could you give me 2 crusts because I got a wife and kids and I promised them I would provide for them? No, you can't do that. You want to make money, you have to make a business. You have to do something to make money. But you have to know that you're not making the money. All you're doing is making a vessel that when God wants to give you the blessing, He'll give it to you. And there are people that opened up stores, little stores, nothing stores, and they became multimillionaires. All of a sudden, someone comes by, as he said a good word to him. The person comes in the next day, if someone comes into you all of a sudden from nowhere and says, listen, I'm selling my store out. I see you have a store. You want to buy me? I don't have any money. Pay me next year. Pay me whenever you can. I'm getting out. All of a sudden, he opens up another store. Right? People come and tell us, who is he going to hire? He hires somebody from the street. The guy's father comes in and says to him, you hired my son to work. You don't even know who my son is. I trusted him. You know what? You trusted my son. I trust you. I'm opening up a 3rd store for you. Right? You can never tell how things happen. Right? Things work out amazingly. True, sometimes they work out for not believing people, not religious people. Okay, that's not your business. It's the good. Let everybody be rich. The idea is that how does a person make money? He does what he's supposed to do. He acts efficiently. He acts honestly. He gives the proper amount of time to God, to learning Torah, to doing mitzvahs, and suddenly he finds out that things work. And not only do things work, but he has time for his wife, he has time for his children, he's not always in a miserable mood, right? Today I had a bad day at work. Don't talk to me, right? I don't know, leave me alone. I had a bad day. There's no such thing as a bad day at work. Every day is a day that God gives him. Some days are you see money, some days you don't see money, sometimes you lose money. A good mood is also a vessel for God's blessing. If a person is miserable, then he draws misery. He thinks negatively, he draws negativity. That's the way the world works. Right? And of course, there's always people that say, sure, that's what got us the Holocaust. The Jews sat around and they didn't do anything. I know Jews that are poor, they don't have nothing. Somebody came into the Rebbe and asked the Rebbe, why was it, this was in the 50s, why is it that there was a Chassid, I told you the story several times. There was a Chassid in New York, what was his name? Okay, I forget, I'll remember his name.
What Chassidic group did he belong to?
Chabad. He was a Chassid in Chabad.
A Lubavitcher Chassid?
Lubavitcher Chassid. And he was poor, he didn't have money, and he had a big family. And he said, look at this Chassid. He said, he has torn garments. His garment is torn, right? He came into you to Yechidus. I had to loan him my garment. And here there's this movie star. He said the person's name in Marilyn Monroe. It happened to be this famous movie star. Said that she makes like $50 million a year or something like that. In those days, 50s was a tremendous amount of money. He says, why is it she has so much money and he hasn't? So the Rebbe said, that person that you talked about, that Chassid that you talked about, he's happy. He has a happy life. He has beautiful children. He has beautiful grandchildren. He's happy with them. They get along with him. They can talk to him. He devotes himself to God. He does good things for other people. He has a happy life. And he says about his jacket being torn, he doesn't even know that it's torn. If you wouldn't have given him the new jacket, he would have come in with a torn jacket also. Right?
He's got everything money can't buy.
Right. And this lady that you talked about, she's miserable her whole life. She has not any pleasure from even 1 cent of what she's got. And sure enough, that lady, she committed suicide next year or 2 years ago after that. Because she was so miserable. Miserable person. All these people
that money.
Huh?
Get this.
So who knows? All these people that are rich means absolutely nothing about if they're happy or not. Usually those people that have a lot of money, if they don't have principles or meaning in their lives, they're not happy people at all. Usually they're very miserable people, and they're always worried somebody's going to take away their money. And there's a saying in Yiddish that a rich man has less friends than a poor man has enemies. A rich person doesn't have any friends. All of his friends are all depending on his money. As soon as he loses his money, nobody wants to know him. They're not friends because of his personality, because they get along with him, because they drop in, drop around. There's no such thing. There's guards at the door. Says the Rebbe, a person making money, job, it only is a vessel to receive the blessing of God. And when you do make a proper vessel, then the money, you realize, is a blessing from God. It's not my money, it's God's money.
But everything comes from Hashem, not just money.
If you realize it. But if you don't realize it, then you think it's yours and you're making a big mistake.
Don't you have a problem in that case?
Problem, yes. Hagisha, therefore the Jewish people are here to solve that problem. A person should say, not to say my power and my hands, they made me rich. If a person, right, he listens and says, you have to be a shark, you have to this, then you can do also tricks. Only then you can succeed. Says, and look at this guy, look how he succeeded. And there's big courses, there's big books you buy, right? How to succeed. I became $1 million overnight. I did this, how to succeed. Run after success. You're going to be great, you're going to be big, you're going to be this. Says the Torah tells us no. You should know who's after this idea of, I want to be a success, I'm going to be big. Here is a Malek. He's disguising himself as a Kanani. A Kanani means the world. It's not a Kanani, it's not the world that's telling you to be successful. No, a Amalek wants to destroy you. Hamafriya lekabel the Torah, the same Amalek that didn't want you to get the Torah. That's the same Amalek that says you can learn the Torah, but when you get to the world is the boss. Not only that is this not the way to make the world a dwelling for God. To transform the land of Canaan to the land of Israel. You suddenly realize that all of a sudden he realizes there's an inner intention that really, what does Amalek want to do? He wants to destroy the Jewish people. This also brings that eventually it even wants to destroy the Jewish body. There's a lot of people in America, a lot of Jews that are rich in America. There are a lot of Jews that are rich, and they don't do anything to benefit the world. They don't do anything to benefit the world. Some of them are big leftists. Some of them they want to just make an anarchy in the world. They don't do. What happens? Everybody blames. All of a sudden, everybody says the Jews have all the money. Now, the fact is, Jews don't have all the money, but there are certain Jews that do have a lot of money, right? But I don't think it's disproportionate to the rest of the world. I don't think it is. But the point is, why is everybody angry? Because the Jews have a job to do, and they're not doing it. The Jews are supposed to teach the whole world that, like you said, everything comes from God. Right? Don't be uptight. Don't worry. Don't be vicious. Don't have jealousy. Don't be disappointed. Don't get depressed. The world shouldn't make you do these things. But that's the job of the Jews. The Jews are supposed to teach the whole world this. Ki Yehudi yochal liot shalem. A Jew can be whole in his body, physically, only when his soul is, like it says, Tomat Yeshurim Tamchem. The wholeness of honest people, that is what supports them. Also, it is forbidden to give, allow, letzanen hitlavut, to cool off the excitement of the Torah. And let me just read this in English, and then tomorrow we'll continue in Purim. This is the only way to maintain a healthy body. 248 limbs, 613 blood vessels. Simply, the Torah is called the Torah of life. Regarding the mitzvahs, it says you should do the mitzvot and live in them. Because then you become a vessel for God. It's not that you're trying to do it. This is not talking about only after 120 years that you go to God and then God is whole. No, it's talking about right now. This physical world is the only means of a Jew to live and to exist physically in his body is when he learns the Torah of life. When he does the Torah, the mitzvahs, chai b'hem, he lives in them. This brings then to true life in all of his 248 limbs and his 365 negative. This corresponds to the 248 positive commandments and the 365 negative commandments. When a person does that, that's the weapon against the Amalek. That's the weapon against the Amalek. Not to think and not to make groups and not to this. The weapon against the Amalek is doing the Torah, learning the Torah, doing the commandments, and being a happy Jew. Then you can do the mitzvah of Puru Urvu, be fruitful and multiply, fill the world. This prepares the world to be Dira Lo Yitborech, to be a dwelling place for Hashem. Dira Laboret, a dwelling place for the Creator. Everyone will see that this world is a big miracle. God is creating it. It will bring to what it says, Atira Eretz Yisrael, Lihit Pashet B'Kol Artzot. It says that in the future, are you listening, Zechariah?
Yeah.
In the future, the land of Israel was spread out all over the whole entire world. What does it mean? That every place will be recognized, and it will see what's called Hashgacha Pratit. You know what Hashgacha Pratit is? That Hashem will send you what you need. Einei Hashem Elokecha bo. The whole world will see that God's eyes are everywhere on every single goy in Africa and Russia and Europe and Asia. Everywhere, every single creation, especially human beings, God takes care of everyone. V'lo b'shat tefillah, not only the time when he prays, not only the time of the prayer of Nila and Yom Kippur do we feel God, or on Shabbos or holidays, but rather, Mereishis Hashanah ad Achri Shana, that every non-Jew will feel the Creator and the love of the Creator every place and every time. That's the opposite of Amalek. That's what we have to remember.
Believe, to have a faith.
Yes. But faith is not to have a faith in something that hasn't happened yet. For instance, I borrow from you $1 million, and you have faith that I'll give it back. Right? But it could be that maybe I won't. Maybe I'll lose money. Maybe something will happen. Right? Right? Maybe I won't be able to give you back the money. Who knows what will happen? Right? Maybe not. But have faith in God is different. God does exist. It's not something that's going to happen in the future. It's not if you believe in this idea, then, it gives you a better life. Who says it's true? It's true if you want it to be true. No. Whether you believe it or you don't believe it, God exists. Whether you believe it or you don't believe it, God is good. Whether you believe it or you don't believe it, God creates the whole world all the time. That's the fact. That's the fact. The only way you can perceive this fact is by means of emunah, by means of faith. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow we'll talk about Purim.